Israel says it's not your land. So hence you have the battle between the Israelis and the Palestinians. Well, as you know, the United Nations is extremely hostile to Israel. And the UN is constantly criticizing Israel, condemning Israel, as though Israel's some kind of horrible oppressors, and they're not. As I said many times, Israel's not perfect. I'm not saying they are. But they're not these horrible aggressors that the UN has placed them to be. Well, so what the United Nations does from time to time is they will attempt to pass a resolution through their Security Council officially condemning Israel for illegally occupying Palestinian land, even though Israel's been there for decades. But the United States, with a seat on the UN Security Council, has veto power over these resolutions. So therefore, all the United States has to do, and they've done this for decades, is if the United Nations tries to pass a resolution like this, the U.S. steps in and says, no, we're vetoing that. We have veto power. The United Nations is not going to officially declare Israel in criminal violation of the law, in stealing land and whatever. And that's been the long-standing tradition and relationship between the United States and Israel, that the United States will always have Israel's back when the UN tries to pull something like this. Well, they did it again. The United Nations Security Council wanted to have another vote on this, and here's Barack Obama, less than a month before leaving office. President Obama decided, I'm going to break with tradition, and we're not going to veto this. We're going to abstain and therefore allow the condemnation resolution to pass through the UN Security Council, which means that according to the United Nations, Israel is now in violation of law and international law by illegally occupying land that, quote unquote, belongs to other people, aka the Palestinians. What it does is it makes Israel that much more vulnerable to potential attack, because now it emboldens Israel's enemies to say, see, now we've got the weight and the power of the United Nations Security Council behind us if we decide to go after Israel and attack Israel. I mean, it was in a huge way President Obama throwing Israel under the bus. It was a complete slap in the face of Israel. And Israel's pretty upset about it, understandably so. So what happens from there? Well, hang on, because I'm just getting started with this. There's a lot of things about Israel that I want to talk about. The United Nations, why I say the United Nations is unfair to Israel, but then also, who are the Palestinians? Is there even such a thing as a modern-day Palestinian, or is that just a made-up word for today? Well, I'm going to get into all of that and the history of the land called Palestine and what that means. So we got a lot of stuff to get to. I'm going to try to simplify the whole thing for you, and we'll dive into this next here on the Bob Dutko Show.